everyone knows that God's design means that at some point there's gonna be a Minecraft, but in Unreal Engine 5. And we are getting pretty close to that point.
What if Minecraft was put into Unreal Engine 5 and made more granular with smaller voxels, more detail, better sound, and a much more realistic physics system? Well,
Whoa!
you would get Lay of the Land, an
Bro, that's pretty good, okay? The possibilities in something like this would actually be wild. Also, this looks actually pretty good. Now, admittedly, it definitely doesn't have that peak Minecraft aesthetic. And I'm not talking about, by the way, the new or modern day Minecraft with zombie children and stuff like that. No, 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 no. I'm talking about the desolate early Minecraft, the one that made you fear go out at night, the one that made you fear the sounds in the dark. That one. Oh, yeah, those were the good times, boys.
indie title being developed in Unreal Engine 5 by apparently one game dev. And at first glance, you might just say it looks like another Minecraft clone. But upon closer inspection, the
Most Minecraft clones are good. Most good Minecraft games start off as Minecraft clones and then they just completely flourish. Terraria is a great example. When Terraria came out, if you don't know, it was just considered a 2D Minecraft clone, and like, what's special about it? And then Terraria just completely exploded and became a super popular and amazing game that everyone should probably play.
upgrades provided in this engine expand the world building fidelity and gameplay in some really awesome ways. I'm so impressed with this guy's procedural tech and frankly artistry on the project, creating a world that I want to explore and feels so much more real. Let's check it out. Now, Lay of the Land is currently in development and you can get access to an early build via the developer's Patreon. I saw some of their videos on social media almost
Patreon.
mistaking it for Minecraft with some of the highly upgraded ray tracing mods. If you've seen some of my other coverage of Minecraft, you'll know just how good it can look with the right sets of mods. However, I noticed pretty quickly that the more detailed voxel layout really set this game apart visually, so I signed up.
A lot of games are using the voxel type thing. Effectively, it's Minecraft, but it doesn't look like blocks, and you can destroy pretty much everything, which is kind of very fun and interesting. There's a bunch of games that are using the voxel uh, engine. Do we call it an engine? Whatever. I'm not a computer guy, but I believe in black magic. Okay. There's a lot of really good games that use the voxel stuff, and it's pretty cool what you can do. No Man's Sky uses voxel stuff. What else actually uses voxel stuff? I'm not even 100% sure at this point. But there's a lot of good games that use it.
For the devs Patreon to get access, and as soon as I started playing, I could tell that this game was special. Like Minecraft, Lay of the Land is a voxel-based survival crafting game where you mine resources to build bases and gear that help you mine and craft more stuff. There's multiple biomes, mobs to fight, animals to admire, caves to spelunk, and even a volcano to climb. And instead of the massive
This is pretty good. So you're telling me there's just one map, maybe? Question mark? If it's one map, but still by one guy, I will have to say this is still pretty impressive. Because if this is it, he can still pivot and make a different type of game, a solo survival game or something like that that's not Minecraft esque, and it would probably still be pretty good. Because this, everything we see so far, is pretty impressive.
blocky voxels that we're used to from Minecraft, this game has much smaller ones that allow for more granular objects and landscapes. Though it doesn't use as many sprites to render things out like grass, which are instead made from the voxels themselves for a very different visual look. Now, unlike Minecraft, Lay of the Land also has voxel-based physics, so if you start chopping down a tree and break all the way through to the trunk, it'll actually fall over and, well, kill you. Yeah, this was
Uh,
literally my first time chopping down a tree in Lay of the Land, and it killed me. And the second this happened, a light bulb went off in my head. If you've ever played Teardown, well, that's sort of what's going on here. Breaking through support structures like the trunk of a tree or a wall will cause it to fall over. Compared to Minecraft, where if you want to
the falling over is not that impressive, but hey. a lot can be done.
Over. Compared to Minecraft, where if you want to chop down a massive tree, it often requires creating like a staircase to actually reach the top of it, since you can cut out the trunks from
Biblically accurate tree chopping based.
below and it'll still be floating there in the sky. And I gotta say, it is just so much more satisfying being able to chop away at the trunk of a tree, watch it fall over, and then proceed to chop up the rest of the tree as you might do in real life. And then applying these same physics principles to pretty much every other object in the game, the world feels so much more alive and reactive. Now that said, the physics definitely complicate things a bit more, and it could frustrate you a little bit in the start before you figure it out. In most fantasy games, when I chop down a tree, I'm not concerned about how it falls or what it lands on. And this could be something that's more frustrating than it is fun, but it is certainly cool that you actually have to consider that now. Now, the actual mining and crafting systems are a bit more complex. Tools have multiple methods of interacting with the world. They can take smaller chunks out of
Now, granted, this looks a little bit because you're not really digging. It's like we saw those shovels, and tell me, did you feel progression in digging? No. Considering there's literally a game about just digging a hole and going deeper, and it was super mega successful, we understand the power of digging holes needs to be correct, and I did not feel that just now.
bigger blocks realistically, or they can clear an entire block at a time. So you can partially destroy blocks or outright dismantle them entirely. This makes simple stuff like clearing out a patch of ground for a survival shack a little bit more tedious, but it also gives you more fine control over the shape of things. And something that I immediately noticed when comparing this to Minecraft is just how round and geometrically
I can't really hear myself in the thingamajiggy. Interesting. Huh.
complex some of the randomly generated buildings are. It actually made me do a double take when I realized that this observatory has a copper roof that I could mine to get a ton of copper from. These generated buildings are so intricate that I actually forgot that I could just mine and interact with every surface on them and collect resources from them, because they just felt like a game asset that was supposed to be there in the world, not one that I could dismantle on a cellular level. So on one hand, it's extremely cool that you can make such complex structures, and
Now, it does look like you can actually make the chopping process a little bit better by just making a bigger impact when you actually swing. But, still to be determined, I guess.
on the other hand, it does
Also, notice that there's a monobot here. Kind of cool.
make building a little bit more complicated. Not necessarily slower, they have some really good tools in there to speed it up, but you got to do a little bit more learning as opposed to Minecraft's simple block stacking system. You can instantly build an entire wall by selecting the start and end point. The game dynamically fills in the volume between the 2 points, and you can still place individual blocks if you want to customize things further. Now,
Holy shit, this guy is advanced. He just said volume, and yeah, that's correct.
as for how you craft your tools and weapons in the game, Lay of the Land takes a novel approach. Instead of using a building grid user interface, you'll place the individual components you need on the ground. Interacting with the pile will let you craft from all the possible tools you can make from those resources. So if you drop a few sticks and flint and rope, you can make a shovel or an
Yeah, this looks ass, I'm not gonna lie. This looks completely unnecessary.
axe or even a bow. Once again, it can get a little more complicated thanks to the physics, as all the objects can potentially roll away, and so you have to consider where you're going to drop your items when you want to craft something. Not a huge issue, but just something to learn as you go along. And frankly, I kind of prefer this crafting system. It felt faster at times and certainly more intuitive instead of having to memorize a bunch of recipes in Minecraft, which you might just not know when you start playing the game. Now, once I got a little house and some weapons taken care of, I set out to explore the world, quickly running into the various bad guys that inhabit it. The mobs in Lay of the Land are actually pretty challenging to fight. They do a ton of damage and can take several hits from even high quality silver weapons. I did die quite a bit, which honestly reminds me a lot of Minecraft when you're first getting started and get caught outside at night. There's a pretty good variety of enemies. There's skeletons, spiders, centipedes, mini tornado making floaty guys, slime balls, grenadiers, and even mechanical crab like enemies and scorpions. They all have their own attack patterns and movement mechanics to deal with. And to fight them, you have a variety of weapons like swords, axes, daggers. There's also a bow and a magical staff that lets you cast spells that you can learn by finding their recipes from around the world. Now, at least for the time
Oh, damn, that's some bis stuff right there.
being, you don't lose.
Okay, this so far looks. I mean, the combat. The combat's kind of questionable, but I mean, so is Minecraft's combat. Okay, so what are we thinking currently? Is the new generation of 5-year-olds gonna spaz out when they finally see this? Or is it this gonna be something that, 35-year-olds are gonna be like, oh, pogging over?
Lose any items when you die. You'll respawn at the spawn point for your world or your bed, and you can just carry on like nothing happened. I think this is currently done as a concession in case any bugs or weird issues get you killed while the game is still in a pre-release phase. So I wouldn't expect it to work the same when the game officially launches, or probably they'll have a toggle option or something like that. Now, once I got a feel for things and did some exploration, I of course had to turn on God mode so I could zip around and check things out. And I realized that one of Minecraft's coolest features is not present in this game. The world is not
World generation, yeah, we already figured that out at the start. All the everything was there.
infinitely large sandbox. You're spawned into a map that's effectively a massive island with an ocean surrounding it. Now, the island is still pretty massive. It has tons of biomes to explore, ruins to plunder, tons of different features and randomly generated stuff, but it's hard to deny that climbing a volcano and being able to see the entire
Well, if this is by one dude, and well, this is just the start. I mean, currently it looks pretty good. There have been also a lot of games done by a single developer that are really, really good.
entire playable area sort of takes some of the mystery out of exploring. In Minecraft, I always feel like I'm one hill or one horizon line away from some crazy new adventure, and there's always something new to be found. Where in this, I know the world is more finite. It's not to say that there isn't plenty of stuff to do on the island, it
The trees look a bit off-putting, I think, honestly, at the distance. The hills look pretty good, but the trees,
is objectively smaller than Minecraft. Now, that said, the visuals and audio make up for the scale limit to a pretty large degree. The sound design is great and makes the world feel so much more real. Walking around all the various biomes and natural land features have unique soundscapes with chirping birds, babbling brooks, croaking frogs, and the sound of wind blowing through the trees. Chopping down a tree actually sounds very realistic and like you're chopping down a real tree. And having used extensive modding in Minecraft,
that did not sound like chopping down a real tree, by the way. That did not sound like it at all.
I can say that this game just feels far more immersive even when using some of the best visuals.
I mean, this definitely looks like it could have a absolutely massive future if done correctly. The fact that it's on Patreon by one guy and you have to pay, though, slightly sus, I guess. It does make sense, a single person project needs funding, blah, 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 wants to quit with their McDonald's day job. It does make a lot of sense to a degree. But at the same time, it's like, how much can you improve this? What happens if you can't scale it? Now, we know that a Unreal Engine 5 Minecraft is gonna happen at some point. To be fair, almost all Unreal Engine 5 games that, have some kind of destruction world elements and building are already technically Minecraft. But, I'm talking about Minecraft tier of games, like this, for example. It's gonna happen soon, and then it's gonna be VR and humanity dies because everyone's just playing porn games constantly. It was a good run. I mean, we fucking tried. And then we got filtered out by our own, horniness. It happens. It happens. In any case, 10 out of 10. That was Little Cap Gaming.